Well, another week, and here we are at Heaven and Health YouTube channel talking about this week. We are talking, I am your host, JoJo Tabarra, and my co-host tonight, Terri Hutchinson. We are going to talk about some spiritual health here. Um, and this is very near and dear to my heart as well. We've talked about this before, but why do we like to be known?
Well, I think it's because it's just delightful to be introduced to a friend uh, by a friend. Let's say you walk up to a group and somebody says, "Oh, hey, Jojo, here, let me introduce you to blah, 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 blah." And so you become an object of curiosity, right? Questions are asked, like, well, how did you meet each other? Or what do you do? Where have you traveled? What are your interests? And you just, someone is curious about what makes you you because they ask questions and seek a connection with you. And when I met my friend Lori, um, she was actually the wife of a friend of my husband's. So I didn't know her that well, but right away, question after question, and I'd never experienced anything like that. I mean, she actually acted like she wanted to get to know me.
What
She
a
has,
concept.
yeah, I know. She has such an innate curiosity, resulting in a multitude of questions to learn about the person that's in front of her.
Yeah.
And, even after she knows you, she doesn't stop asking. She wants to try to get to know you more. And I think that's second level, right? We know the surface of somebody, but if we really want to go deeper than that, we have to ask the questions. And I have learned so much from her as far as cultivating that sense of intrigue about the other person and just remembering some of the questions she's asked so that, I can be um, a better person when somebody's coming into a group that's, may feel a little bit like an outsider. And I really think, Jojo, that you get to know someone by knocking on the door of their heart. And each time the
Oh, I
door
love that.
opens, yeah, each time the door opens, your depth of knowing them increases. You're going a little bit farther in, a little bit farther in. So I'm wondering how you've seen this in your life.
Well, you mentioned about, being an outsider. That was pretty much me my whole life because I've lived in 7 states. I have lived in countless houses, apartments, mobile homes, and I was always the new kid on the block. When in the beginning, my dad was in the military, so we moved a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And then when he got a job with Xerox, he was very upward mobile in the company, very ambitious. And so anytime they needed somebody to move across country, my dad's hand went up and there we went. And so I was always the new kid. And I lived on the East Coast, on the West Coast, in a few states in between. And so it was like it wasn't just, it was a new neighborhood, it was a new culture.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was so new and I was very shy back then. I'm not anymore, but I was very shy back then. And I noticed too, not a lot of people would you'd be introduced and they wouldn't ask you very many questions. So you didn't get to know people. And sometimes like when I moved here, um, one I didn't even know how to get around. I didn't even know where things were, and I know that they give very different directions in the Midwest than they do in other states. So in the other states, you go 2 blocks and you make a left. No, they go, well, you know where the old restaurant so and so used to be? And I'm like, I just moved in, so I'm going to say no.
Now, if that cow's still on the corner, you're going to
Right.
want to
Then you
make a
go,
left there. If he's moved, then you're going to need to look for the McDonald's on the other side.
exactly. exactly. And so there were nuances of living in certain places that I did not know, certain language, certain terms that people use. In the South, they use very different terms than they do in New York, and we pronunciate things differently, putting the wrong accent on the wrong syllable and stuff like that. And I always felt like I was an outsider. I always felt, and when somebody ask me questions to get to know me. That felt really good. Being known and valued and wanted feels really good. Yeah. So we talk about this as it relates to people, but let's kind of switch gears a little bit. And so what does this concept of being known, how does this relate to knowing Jesus, knowing God?
Well, I mean, this is my opinion, but I think the Word of God is like a photo album of Jesus's life. Everything you can know about him is written there. Who he spent time with on earth, what he said or didn't say, who he loved, why he hung with certain people, what made him angry, empathetic, or pleased, what he thinks of you. By having the answers to these questions, you learn why you are so important to him. You, that you're valued, treasured, a soul worth saving because you have worth in his eyes and heart. And I'm not certain you can truly grasp what you mean to Jesus if you haven't gotten in close and examined the conversations, the passion, the heart and mind of Christ. So, this is how we get to know Jesus. We get to know Jesus through the Word of God, and we get to know Jesus through each other.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's also a way to know who we are in Jesus,
Mhm.
to know him and to hear from him, which is another spiritual aspect of it. But yeah, I think being known and knowing those around us is really important, because otherwise you have this very superficial um, relationship with somebody. And our spiritual relationship with the Lord needs to be stronger. And it can't happen. So this is so weird. We were talking about this. I have a life group that I run at my church on Wednesday morning. We're taping this on Wednesday. And I just came from there. We were talking about this, not knowing who God is. You can't hear from him in the same way. You
Mm.
can't, when you pray, you don't get an answer. You don't hear the answer as well as if you know him.
Yeah, I
So
mean, oh, go ahead.
yeah, so spiritually, it's really important to be able to know who Jesus is, who God is, so that we can hear from them, him, the Lord, in order to, when we're praying, when we're searching for direction, and when we're dealing with other people as well. And that's why we love to be known. The Lord loves to be known too.
Yeah. And I think, Jesus isn't just a babe in a manger and a
Yeah.
figure on a cross. You have to dig into the Gospels and find those emotional words like he was moved, had compassion, he yelled. So, I think, maybe just, digging around in there and, you know, get a feel for the emotional side of Jesus. So,
Yeah, because he had emotions.
yeah.
A lot of times we don't think about that, do we?
Mm-mm. No, we
We think he
don't.
was very calm but there's a lot of times in the Bible where it talks about Jesus wept, where Jesus got angry, overturned table. He had
Hmm.
emotions.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we do have a challenge for you, as we do every week. And so this challenge is we're going to ask that we're going to challenge you to ask more questions. So ask more questions of your friends. Ask more questions of your relatives, your family, and ask more questions of Jesus.
Yes, love it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Terri, for coming on, Terri, from Anchored Not Anxious podcast. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom. And she will be back when we talk about emotional issues. And we will see you then.
All right. Bye bye.